Hello, darlings. It is I, the Mad Pirate Bippy, and I am here to talk about a pet peeve of mine on Just No Mill and every other support community I've ever been on. So, for those of you who don't know me from Just No Mill or have not read all of my sordid histories, or you just run across me here on YouTube, I will fill you in a little bit. Just No Mill is a subreddit that is getting close to 750,000 people that are subscribed. It's a very active subreddit. I'm a moderator there. I am the shittiest of all of the mods. And I added that as my flair and someone deleted it and I was very upset. So, there is what is called the Worst of the Worst wiki. And that is basically where all of the worst mother-in-laws are stored. And it's not always mother-in-laws, sometimes it's mothers. So, if you have a particularly hideous saga, you end up on there. And out of the 750,000 people who subscribe and write and post, and the 3 years that I've been an active member of this community, my mom is in the number 2 slot as the worst person on the sub. She's the worst abuser there, and we've had people literally try to murder their grandchildren with arson, and a couple of people who actually managed to murder their grandchildren. So, pretty much I went through every single type of abuse it is possible to put a child through. A substantial amount of physical abuse that actually has had lifelong impact on me. All of the bones in my neck are chipped on one side from when my mom used to grab me by the hair. She would grab me by the hair in her right hand, yank my head down to her waist. I'm nearly 6 foot tall and have been since I was 11. She is barely 5 foot tall, so she'd grab me by the hair and then she would march me through the house and she would slam the top of my head into door frames. And she did this often enough that she chipped all the bones in my neck. And when I was in a bad car accident and I broke my neck in the accident, they asked me what happened when I was 11 to 12 years old. I could have chipped my neck like that. And they told me it was constantly being yanked. My head being yanked in that direction would have caused that. And I have healed fractures in the top of my skull from having my head rammed into door frames. So she was ramming my head into door frames hard enough that it was actually fracturing the bone. And that was just part of the physical abuse. She did Geneva Convention banned sleep torture techniques on me that they used in Guantanamo Bay that got the United States in a lot of trouble because, again, these torture techniques are banned by the Geneva Convention. And she did that to me starting at the age of 7. Massive physical abuse, tremendous amounts of emotional abuse. I don't know if it shows up on this camera, but do you see those white spots on my arm? So I'm very freckled, but where you see like the big white divots. They're awkward to try to like the big white spots. That's frostbite. Because when I was a child growing up in Denver where it snows, my parents were paying about $600 a month in rent in the 90s and making $80,000 a year. But they couldn't afford a coat for me. At one point, medical neglect. At one point, I was literally coughing up blood for 6 months, and my mom refused to give me medical care. I am crippled to this day and have no cartilage in my right knee because when I dislocated my right knee doing ballet, which my mother insisted I do, even though I hated it, so I was dancing, and my lower part of my knee stayed the same straight, and my upper part of my knee rotated on top of it while I was doing a spin. And mom refused to give me medical care because why spend money on girls? If it had been my brother, he would have absolutely gotten medical care. So let's see, we've got physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, medical neglect, financial abuse. There's a tremendous amount of financial abuse. When I was a kid, I would earn $1,000 at 13 and just hand it to my parents, and they never once asked where it came from. We lived in a rough neighborhood. It could have been prostitution. Actually, it was prostitution based. It was babysitting for an escort agency. Thankfully, I didn't get involved in selling drugs, but it could have very easily been drugs. And I was actually offered to be a drug runner on a mule because I was a white girl. So I wouldn't have been hassled by the cops as much because I was sort of a square and I looked like a square. But I was enough of a square that I was absolutely not interested in basically walking cocaine around for deliveries. So let's see. What other types of sexual abuse? Won't detail here. If you want details about it, you can head to Just No Mill and read some of my stories there. It's in there. My mother, in fairness, my mother never sexually abused me or my brother. She never laid hands on us in that way. So, that was more a byproduct of the tremendous neglect and the financial abuse that caused that situation. I was also 15 and old enough to consent to the things that I was doing for money. That should fill you in with what needed to happen. Yeah, it was not good. It was tough. It was bad. So, yeah, I don't think there's any financial abuse. Jesus. Yeah, it was bad. She didn't fuck my credit, That's the only thing I can say. At least my credit didn't get fucked. I won scholarships and got grant money for going to college, and all of the money needed to pay for my books. So I went to college at 15. All the money I needed to pay for my books was spent, and I had to get my textbooks from the library. Went hungry a lot. I have multiple eating disorders because some of the fucked up shit that went down between me not eating for a week and then being force fed whenever I was losing weight. Yeah, so lots of bad shit happened to me. A lot of bad shit happened to me. And something that drives me absolutely, depending on how close I am to my period, it's either irritating or it makes me furious, as I will see these stories, and they start with, well, my mom's not, or my mother-in-law, isn't as bad as so many of the people here, but here's what's going on. Don't say that, okay? So, I think at this point, my mom is ranked as number 2 in a sub that is entirely devoted to heinous, evil bitches. And the only person who beat her literally beat a dog to death on camera with a crowbar. I think Magda is always going to be one up on fucking Linda. Honestly, holy shit. My mom did horrible things to animals, but at least it was all sort of benign neglect instead of, actively murdering dogs. So, I'm trying to say this in a way where it's not going to come across as dismissive or bitchy, and I don't think it's possible. So here goes. Your pain, your suffering, your angst, your venting deserves to be heard. You deserve support. Okay? Your mom or mother-in-law does not have to be an animal murdering, massively physically abusive, arsonist psycho for you to be stressed about this and need support. And here's why this drives me crazy. It drives me fucking crazy. You hear all the time, and I've seen this on YouTube comments, and I have made comments about this. Well, you had a roof over your head and 3 meals a day and your stomach and clothes on your back, so you have no room to complain. Okay. First, I didn't always have all of those things. I still have panic attacks to this day if somebody tapes something yellow on my door because we got evicted a lot as kids. I was given up for months at a time because my parents were homeless. Went hungry a lot. Those scars I showed you were from having inadequate clothing, so I did not have clothes on my back. There were times where I actually was having to patch my underwear and like make clothes out of scraps so that I would not be naked. So no, I didn't have clothes. No, I didn't have food. No, I didn't always have reliable shelter. And I'm saying that even if you had those things, your parents can still be abusive, and your voice still deserves to be heard. And the people who are telling you that, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like, I fucking said that when I started posting about my mom. Oh, it wasn't that bad. That is an entire thing to get you to be complicit and silent about your abuse and what you're going through. And it's wrong. You deserve to be heard, and you deserve to be validated, and you deserve to be supported. It's not the fucking Pain Olympics. It's not like the top 3 get to stand on the podium and have everybody go, oh, poor baby, life was so bad for you, and nobody else gets any empathy. That's not what this is about. That's not what Just No Mill is about. No. Stop it. It doesn't have to be, it could just be somebody's being a mean girl, snotty bitch to you. You know, that is shitty. Having somebody like your mother-in-law pretend that there's nothing more to you than an incubator and calling you names or just like pretending you don't exist unless she wants something from you, that's shitty. You deserve support. You deserve, talk about it. You don't have to apologize. Especially on Just No Mill, where we all know where you're coming from, because we all have some dysfunctional maternal relationship. We're all fucking broken dollies. It's the land of the fucking broken dollies. We're all fucked up here, and we're all trying to help each other. So don't apologize for wanting acknowledgement or validation or support. You should have all of those things, and don't stay quiet because you don't think it's bad enough. We actually put up an entirely different sub, Mildly No Mill, and half the fucking posts there, you're like, no, you need to go to Just No. Like, this isn't mildly anything. This is serious. You need, like, victims almost always underestimate the amount of damage that they've been taking. And it's okay. Like, don't apologize for taking up space on the internet. It's electrons. Like, it's okay. Just tell us your story. Because we're here for you. We want to listen to what you have to say. You're going to get some great advice. The only people, honestly, that don't get some advice or feedback, they write in a really confusing manner. And it's almost never the English as a second language people. Honestly, most people who are like, I'm really sorry, English isn't my first language. Y'all do great. Y'all put to shame people who grew up and went to schools in states where y'all is what we normally say. You're doing fine, and you deserve support too. And maybe, we'll get big enough, we'll start having, international language boards, because apparently we really fucking need a support forum for all the German mother-in-laws that are bad shit out there. So stop apologizing for it. You deserve the respect. You deserve to be witnessed and acknowledged and validated and supported in all the ways that are important to you. You deserve to get advice about your situation. And if people keep telling you, oh, well, you had clothes on your back and you had food in your stomach and you had a roof over your head, somebody giving you the bare minimum of legal requirements that a parent has to give you to not get their kids repoed by the government doesn't excuse anyone from anything else that they may or may not have done. Either, like, being completely invasive or unsupportive or neglectful. There's a whole range of bullshit that you could have gone through that you deserve support for. So, we're here for you. Stop apologizing for existing or for having shit happen to you if you don't think it's bad enough, or if you think it was bad enough, but you, no. You're worth it. That's what we're here for. We are here to help each other. Tell your story. That's all we ask. Just tell your story. And when you're on the forum, try to help and support the other people that are there that need help and support too. That's all we want. Just don't be an asshole. Help and support each other. Bill and Ted rules. Be excellent to each other. Stop apologizing for writing your stories. As the second place winner in the Pain Olympics, I give you all permission, if you need it, to post anything you need. Just stop starting every single thing with, I'm so sorry. I know I don't deserve to be here. You deserve it. You deserve all the good stuff. And if you really don't deserve it, I'm working very hard and have for years to try to make sure that Just No Mill doesn't turn into an echo chamber where everybody's like, you were right, your mother-in-law's a bitch. Like, I call people out. I'm like, I don't think your mother-in-law's being super bitchy in this situation. Maybe you want to look into why you might be super triggered by this. Like, but in a supportive, loving way. Like, I try to call people out in a way that helps them get better to help resolve their situation. Not just like, well, you're being a bitch. Because that doesn't accomplish anything. It just wastes my time and wastes their time. So, you're valid. You deserve to be heard. Stop apologizing when you're posting on the support forum to try to get support. Because that is the entire purpose of our existence there. Alright. I just did like a half-hour video on the cycle of abuse that was super emotionally draining and made me want to cry when I finished it. So this was sort of my palate cleanser. If I ramble a bit, I'm sorry. It's because that was really hard on me. And I just want to make sure that everybody who... Well, I said it when I first started posting. Like, nobody who's actually been seriously abused thinks that it wasn't partly their fault, that they didn't partly deserve it, that they didn't do something to make their abuser treat them that way. Most of the time you did absolutely nothing. They're just an abusive asshole, and you just happened to fail their shit tests. So I decided that you were the one to pick on, because you wouldn't say no. Alright. Now I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm gonna go cuddle my dog. Please stop apologizing for being a human being and needing support. Just post your story. We're here for you.